call scheduled on Monday to deal with that. So the fact that I can report some positive action here and talk about like all these, things that I just mentioned to you, I think that's going to be a positive for us, because
Yeah.
we've done something, to remedy the situation that we were in. So
And I'm gonna believe how much we have bonded, even 1/4% or even 1/10% has gotta have a significant impact.
Right, especially the school
well, over
projects.
20 years, yeah. So actually, for the bonds, I believe we had did we do the bonds? Yeah, for the bonds, I believe we had 6 bids, and the low bid was, the true interest cost was 3.1558%. And actually, on both the bonds and the notes, the bids were all really, really tight. And then on the bonds, we received $49,237 in premium. And so when we receive premium funds, those are the funds that I will use to pay expenses related to the bonds and notes. So in other words, they just give us a premium sometimes. And so on the bonds, we received $49,000, and then on the notes, that we did $20 million in notes, and the rate for the notes was 1.7482%, and those bids were even tighter. I mean, they were just like tenths of a basis point off. They were so close. And for the notes, we received a premium of $199,800. So, as I said, we use that towards, because we have to pay the rating agencies. They send us a bill for the rating. Then we pay our financial advisor, and then, of course, bond counsel. And then if there's anything left over, I would, on the notes, I would apply it towards the interest that will be due a year from now.
So what is the term on the notes?
So the notes, we do a 1-year maturity. And see, that's why we go to market every year, because we've always got, we're always doing something, and with our CIP, and every year we typically do authorized projects.
So any note that we take out will be at the rate of 1.7482 for the next 12 months?
No, it's only this one issue.
One issue.
Every issue is separate.
Okay. And the bonds are 30-year bonds?
20.
20. Okay, and I'm sorry, I really don't understand this premium. So they're giving us money to reward us for?
It has to do with, because they have, when you do bonds and notes, the company that bids on them, they have investors that they turn around and sell them to, and it just has to do with the way they set all the individual coupon rates, because it's just not one $20 million note. They sell it all off in smaller increments, and it has to do with how they sell those increments out and the rate and all of that. So sometimes they offer a premium.
Basically a cut of the commission.
And then you use that to
Pay any bills
Pay.
related to the deal.
Expenses off doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. So.
But listen, it was a tough year last year, right?
Mhm.
Going through that budget cycle and not knowing what the governor was gonna do and this and that, and finally getting cut $1.2 million. We were wise to put the $300,000, so now we only had to deal with $900,000. We had the health insurance issues and the rising cost of health insurance. But with all that, and with cutbacks, and with freezing accounts, we had money left over. With some real good, efficient government. The department heads did it. Ann and I were begging them to do it. They did it. They felt it. We had some turnover, and we didn't hire. We had some key retirements from long-term, say, department heads or supervisors, and we were able to flip that around. So there was some savings built into there, but it was a tough year, but we got through it, and it's good to hear that report that between not using fund balance and $200 and something thousand left over, that's probably an $800,000 swing back into fund balance. So your percentage you thought would be closer to 8% now, right?
Well,
or over.
It's a little under 8, because when I first looked at it, there are a couple of things. We had a remaining, if you recall, during this year's budget, we're now gonna run our low SIP funds through CNRE. So there was a little bit of a balance in the general fund, like just under about 34,000. So that technically is gonna be considered a carryover because we're moving it to another fund. And then the other piece is, we had about, it was at 50,
The retirement
yeah, about
liability.
51,000 left over. We had established in last year's budget for the first time a retirement budget line item, so that when employees leave during the year, if they have any accrued benefits,
Vacation.
unfunded, like leave time that we had to pay them for, we would have a resource to do that, because some of them are
Very smart.
very large. So there's 51,000, so I was thinking of, I discussed it with Mark, of coming back to the boards and asking us to carry that money over into the current year's budget, because it seems like all of a sudden we have a lot more people looking at retirement, and so as this continues to happen, we're gonna be hit with employees that we don't know about leaving, and we weren't able to plan, to fund that. So if we have a little bit of, a little bit more, I think I would rather do it that way than, have to come back later. So if we do those two things, that makes it about 200,000, but if we didn't have to deal with those, it would be closer to 300. So, which brings the total fund balance up at the 8% level. But we have those two things that I think we
Just
need
under
to
8%,
discuss, yeah.
which is a-
What's the number on it?
Yeah, what,
How many
must be
million?
over 5.
Yeah.
The number on,
The fund
It's
balance,
8%,
how many
what's the-
million?
what's the
Under
number of
eight,
fund
you said.
balance?
Under
that would
8%.
be,
7, 6 million.
5.7, I believe.
6 million, I was thinking.
6
No.
million, okay.
No, 5.7, I think.
Are we paying Joe retirement?
I haven't seen what his, I don't know
He's-
if you've
he's-
done the calc.
Joe is vested in the pension plan, however, he's too young to really start collecting, so at some point when he's eligible, he can come back and start collecting, but
But
he's
your
vested in
question
the
might be
plan.
the unencumbered,
Yeah, we're paying, right.
the benefit package.
I believe he had, it was somewhere between, say, $7,500 and $8,000 that he had in accrued leave that we're gonna have to pay him for.
He
So
used,
can add
he
on.
used his most of the time. He had some family issues a couple
Mhm.
years back, so, which pulled him out of the office. So, not a big one. Just a couple of police officers that are, $40,000. They've been here for 40 years, and they accrue and they accrue and they accrue. And, those will hurt.
Some of the bad ones, but, yeah.
Mm.
Do you have anything you're concerned about you want to post?
For this fiscal year, I haven't had a chance to get a handle on that yet, and I did not, give you the July reports at this time. The way that the month fell this month, your meeting being on the 8th, we still haven't finished processing all of the tax payments yet, and the tax collector technically has, by statute, until the 10th of the month to get that all squared away. And when I looked at the revenue reports, like, it's way,
Too
way up.
depressing.
Yeah, due to processing, and then even to, get all of July, so next month, we'll have, actually, July and, August, so, and I will get you them out in your mail, we'll do that. So, the other thing, from last month, one of the things that I was asked was to provide balance sheets for all the funds. So I gave you one fund, and just to show you what the reports look like, and to see if this is what you want before I go and produce them for you for 23 funds. So
Where is that?
that looks like this. Okay, and so, right, so the report, the side that looks like this is the balance sheet report. This is what the balance sheet looks like. And on the other side is what's called, I mean, it's the same information, but it's not like a balance sheet report from our computer. Our system, until I close out this year, it's not gonna let me, the balance sheets are just not right. So it's weird the way it works. If you're in a new fiscal year, you have to have your old fiscal year closed out before your balance sheets are good. So with that said, if it's okay with, I just wanna make sure that this is the kind of report you're looking for. And if it is, I will get, next month with your packets, I will get them to you. But I didn't want to create a report for 23 funds that it wasn't the information you were looking for.
Did I ask for this, or who asked for this?
No, I asked for
Oh,
this.
okay.
I asked for an accounting of fund balances. So it's not exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a beginning balance, withdrawals or additions, and then an ending balance. So when we go to and approve certain appropriations, if we're hitting a fund balance, I would like to see what the beginning balance was, so that we could track it throughout the year. So every time we get an appropriation, there's like a little footnote down here about how much you're asking for and where it's coming from. So rather than us going to piece back 12 pieces of paper, or I don't know, maybe 50 pieces of paper throughout the year, but having a report that would show the beginning balance, additions,
So
debits, credits, ending balance. So this is a snapshot in time of the balance,
Of all of
Which-
the balance sheet accounts?
Right.
Okay. So,
which is not helpful to me.
okay.
So beginning balance,
There's 23 accounts?
July 1st.
30.
23 funds.
Could we just get you a list of 23 funds and their balances, your current balances?
Well, that's what this is.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, yeah, this is like the balance sheet accounts, and so it's always gonna be a snapshot in time.
Right, but I would like to have some kind of history associated with that snapshot. So I would like to know what we started the beginning of the year with on July 1st. And then the additions and subtractions from that fund,
Month to month.
so that we could see how we got to where we are at this point in time. So without me having to go back and piecing together from all the different reports over the past several months, a report that would show us how did we get to this snapshot from the beginning of the year? What did we do? What did we approve?
Like your checkbook register?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that something you can push a button and get, or you have to create it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
The concern is Anna's drowning.
Yeah.
She won't tell you that.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we pay, she doesn't work full-time for the town.
I know she works for the Water and Sewer
She works
Commission.
75% of her time for the town. So we're a
Yeah.
town that doesn't even have a full-time finance director.
Right.
But
She's
that's,
drowning.
but that's not the kind of report that we'd want her to do
I
anyway.
wanna be
That's
able
the
to
intern
hit 'em up
kind of.
and Get this up for you,
Yeah.
and that's what you want, we don't want to spend
Right,
money
yeah.
on this, but, every month. Maybe we can find some, maybe you two can work together and come up with something, that would satisfy what you're looking for.
Well, once you have it set up, you're just gonna push the button, right? It's getting it set up is what.
There's
the
so many
time is.
transactions that it would be,
So does your system allow you to generate custom reports, or no? You just have to take whatever they give you?
I can do custom reports.
And
to-
not on an Excel spreadsheet. I'm not talking about downloading data and messing with
Yeah,
it there.
no.
Can you set it up in the system that you have?
No. No.
All right, so why don't I give to you a list of the few balance sheet accounts that I would be interested in tracking?
Mhm.
And then maybe we'll just
Figure
zero
out
in on
something.
those
Okay.
few, because I don't want to generate a lot of work for stuff I'm not interested in. I don't mean to do that. And I don't even understand what half of this stuff is anyway, so I would just like to zero in on the ones that I'm interested in. So maybe I
But
will.
thanks for doing this.
I mean, really, is this a spreadsheet, Anna, or did that come from your system?
It came from the system.
Right, so what I would do, if I really was interested in tracking this, is I would type all of these into an Excel spreadsheet, and the next month I would do the same thing, and then that would tell me what has been added or subtracted from it. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to avoid doing manual work for myself.
Well, you could export that out.
You write a macro that's gonna do a
Right.
VLOOKUP and pull it
Right.
down and put it in a spreadsheet. I
I like
wouldn't
how
type
you're
that in.
thinking.
I'm lazy. I'll make a
No,
pivot
but
table.
aren't you the spreadsheet guy?
Yeah, but I don't wanna do this. I just took my boss's job, so I'm already doing 2 jobs and I'm not doing this. No.
Ooh.
No, not good for me. I'm tired.
All right, so we'll work something out then on that.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have a quick question on, so I'm looking at the cash balance that we have in the checking account. That's the main operational checking
Well,
account?
this isn't the general fund. This is the sewer assessment fund that I printed.
This is one account.
This is-
No,
yeah,
this account number with $1.5 million in it, the checking account,
Yeah, that's not the general fund.
that's not the general?
No, no, it's the sewer assessment fund.
This is just one of the 23 accounts.
Yeah.
She's just trying to give you an example of what she could give you.
Right.
So how much money do we have in our operational checking account?
Right now? Probably, well, we have more than one account, but right now in the checking account, today we had $18 million. And that's because we're just, through with the,
Haven't paid the bills yet.
well, no, that's because we're through with the tax collections, and then we're working out, where we want to diversify the funds to.
So the fund balance on our books is in our checking account?
No.
No, that's
No.
separate?
Right.
So we have $18 million in an operational checking account.
Right.
And how much is our monthly payroll?
Oh, let's see, 2.5. Say 3.1. That's combined town and Board of Ed, when school is in session.
Okay. That just might be a metric that I asked for on and off, just to monitor that cash flow. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so, health insurance, I put information, in your green folders about health insurance. So, this spreadsheet is for this fiscal year, and it shows you, all of the claims that we had for the month of July. So, in the month of July, we had $834,221 in claims. And then if you look below the total line, you'll see 3 numbers. So I'm gonna focus first on the line that says 2018. In July of last fiscal year, we had 870,000 in claims. So for the month of July, this year, we're doing a little bit better than we were last year. August has just started, and we've had, through today, we've had 2 days that we had claim draws, which, it makes me happy when we can go from the 3rd of the month to the 8th, and I haven't had to have enter anything in on this little
It's like a-
metric, yeah.
It's like a record.
It makes me very happy. But if you look at the bottom, last year, last fiscal year in August, we had $26,000 in claims. So I'm expecting that August is going to be better than July. A lot of what happened in July is part of that, what we call incurred but not reported. So it's claims that were incurred in June but didn't get paid until July. So anyway, so just so that you understand the information, and then the number, like in what I do every month now, like in August, through the 3rd, we've had 105,000 in claims. Well, in the month of July, we were at 68,900. So it's just a little.
Oh, that's what that number is.
Yeah, so I use
So that's a
that to
running
like
total.
track like every month and say like as we get into the year, like it'll mean more because there'll be more months of activity. So like say on the at this time in another month, it kind of helps me gauge what I think the end of the month is going to look like. That's why I do that, and
So
kind
the
of.
top line is the number of the total cost for the previous month through that percent of the month?
Yes.
No, because on the 6th, you have 123,000, so how can the
No,
total
no,
be
no. It's only
68?
through the 3rd because I only have claims through the 3rd of this month.
Oh, so it's not through today? it's
No, I
just
do it
through-
the last day we had claims.
Oh,
Okay, that's how I do that.
So your data date, that's your data date, if you will.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So
Mhm.
so I'll give you this. I can give it to you in your green folders, or I can send it in the packet. So giving it to you in your green folders, you're going to have the information as of the date of your meeting. If I send it out, it'll be a little,
This one, I think, is pretty easy to get the night of the meeting. I don't know how what everybody else thinks,
Yeah.
but the other
It's fine.
reports, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah, especially since you get
Okay.
I
So.
am No?
No, I was saying, it's good, because I think seeing, you've answered some questions that I think I had from the first presentation of this, and what your comparison numbers are, so seeing it on the day of is fine.
Okay. And then, so then I gave you this.
You have all sorts of goodies for it.
So what this is, the estimated net position of the health insurance fund on, well, it's unaudited, and it includes dental, $1.6 million.
We're down, we're in the hole.
Right. Okay, because that was what was asked of me, because at 6/30/17, our net position was minus 645, so that grew to 1.6 at 6/30/18. So then if you go to what I'm currently estimating it to be at 6/30/19, if you look, I start out with what our estimated cash receipts are, and at the bottom I itemize how that is, how much the town's going to put in, what the town employee co-pays are, the Board of Ed's contribution, and the Board of Ed premium shares to come up with that 10.6. And I will note that the town numbers also include water and sewer in the library. And then the estimated claims for this current fiscal year, I increased this year's claims by 7.86%, so that would be, 8.8 million in claims. The administrative fees, a little over $1 million, and that's based on 438 contracts.
What does that mean?
Okay, so that's how many how many employees with the town and the Board of Ed have health insurance on our plan. And I use that number, because that's the number that we had at renewal time. So that number kind of fluctuates up and down every month, and it depends, like, if we have town employees that leave, they go off the insurance, and then there's a little bit of a waiting period for new, and the same with the Board of Ed, so it kind of goes up and down.
But
and-
that includes dependents? Or is
No,
that just employees?
Just contracts.
Okay.
So that means
The
employees.
family
Yeah,
plan
right.
or a single plan? or-
Yeah, the
Okay.
contract, the members is like over 1,000
Yeah.
with dependents. And so then change in IBNR, what that is the incurred but not reported. So I believe at 6/30/17, our incurred but not reported was 867,000. So what I did to come up with that number is I just did an average change in the last 2 years, and it adds another 19,000 to our expenses. And I use the same number for 19 year. So with that said, the estimated operating results would actually be a positive $373,000. And it brings down, the deficit for next year. So
But that doesn't include dental, you said.
but you know what? The dental number's not going to change it that much, because dental actually, our dental premiums for this fiscal year decreased because you know, that pretty much is a flat number, so that's not gonna impact that number, it's really the health insurance that is, so,
So we're still projecting a pretty significant shortfall at the end.
well,
of-
we're
Unless
gonna
we do
have
something
positive
different.
operating results, but, we're not gonna get out of that negative hole all in one year. If our claims are less than 8.4, it'll decrease the hole that we're in.
This is good.
So that, you know, and then I updated the historical analysis,
Can I ask a quick
Sure.
question before we move on? So
Yeah.
some of the money that you're targeting for like to fund vacation time that's not paid out, I forget what you called that.
Leave
Can
on the
we-
books.
Yeah, whatever the leave on the books is, when, you know, the unpaid vacation time that you pay out when somebody leaves.
Hmm.
You're talking about establishing a fund for that going forward
Mhm.
and keeping it funded for that
Mhm.
instance, so we don't pay it out all at once. We're
Mhm.
accruing for it, basically.
mhm.
So can we use some of the money that you would be returning to the fund to reduce this number?
Returning to what fund?
The general fund balance, the 200 that you,
The issue with that is that is a town contribution only, it's not shared
I
with all
think you
of-
said that last
Right.
month. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did ask that last month. and-
So,
Okay, I
so
remember,
right
yeah.
now, so, yeah, so, you know, as we, you know, maybe when we're, like, at the end of the first quarter, I can update this or something and just kind of take a look at where we think we might be. Mark and I will be meeting quarterly with our insurance consultant and, you know, Jeff and Mariana to review the status of our fund, see where we were, see where we're going, you know, to just, so that we're all more on top of it and in tune to, what's going on.
So is the Board of Ed working to try to close this gap,
In terms of,
this projected health fund deficit?
well, by the renewal that we took this year is, you know,
Right, a lot higher.
and it's,
Too close
it's,
to
it's to help us
Okay,
close
so-
the gap, but it's such, you know, the gap is such that it's not gonna happen all in one
I got
day.
it, okay, that's cool. So that's what this estimated cash receipts, because the premiums are going up. So but I mean, they're looking at that, this is a great tool for that, right? So they're gonna sit with that, I guess we're gonna have some little trend line to try to get there, and so now they know that the bad news is here to stay, guys, right?
We're at 28% trying to catch up.
Right, but then
So
they're,
we're behind, so we took extra premium, an
Yeah.
extra hit, they did too.
but they're
and
gonna need to
employees
do
did.
it again next year to close the gap.
Depends on.
Well,
depends on
true,
what
it does depend on
exactly.
other things,
It
but
does
all things
a lot.
being equal, right?
We're working on it together.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, and then I'll just point out to you, at the end of the fiscal year, we had 24 large claims. It's, you know, that's on the bottom section. Of those 24 large claims, 10 of them exceeded the $125,000 individual stop loss. The large claims totaled $3.3 million, and of that, 1.3 was, the town didn't have to pay because it was above the $125,000 individual limit, and the town's share was $2 million, a little over $2 million.
what do you define, Anna, as large claim?
So a large claim is, we start defining them once they hit 62.5, which is 50% of the 125 ISL,
to the
halfway.
umbrella.
So,
Okay.
I'm done.
Oh, you
Do you
think so?
Do you find creating these reports for us is helpful to you, to kind of look at things differently, or is this all stuff that's already fresh in your brain?
Will this report?
This health insurance one is the one that I'm looking at. I mean, sometimes when you lay numbers out, it just kind of helps you think through it, or this is already something that's.
This is, I mean, I live and breathe health insurance. Mark avoids coming to my office in the morning because he doesn't want to hear me say, they took $130,000 out of our bank account today. I mean, I do live and breathe it, but sometimes, even in looking at the large claims, like having it all out in front of us and seeing, like, oh, wow, you know, back in 2013, we only had 10, and now in 2018, we have 24. So, you know, it just, you know, when you look at historical
It's
information,
very tangible.
it always.
It does. I think these are great tools, and thank you for doing them.
And it lets you feel that it's just perhaps a cycle, and maybe that was a bad year, but there seems like every couple of years was a bad year, followed by a couple of lower years. I'm just trying to get a feel for how much time you spend creating this kind of report. And if it's something that we need somebody that, I don't want to pull you away from your core duties to do this kind of report work. But at the same time, if it's helpful to give everybody a holistic view, then it's a worthwhile investment, or it's something that we can get somebody from Kelly Service, some basic, you know, person that you give raw data to, and they can do the formatting stuff. Just trying to understand where the savings could be that comes out of this, if there's a more cost-effective way to find those nuggets that we're looking for. That's what I do.
Thank you, Anna.
Any other questions?
No, thanks, Anna.
Thank you. All right, that closes reports. Moving on to new business. We have a special appropriation request, NSEP, for a grant of $4,718 for emergency management.
Yeah, so this is nuclear money. You just had one a couple months ago, I think just before we went on summer break. That was leftover nuclear money that we applied for. I think they had 100,000 total, and we went after, I think we got 30,000 of it. But this is the annual ask to the nuclear safety, it might be spelled out here, but this is nuclear money, nuclear safety emergency program. Thank you. And we ask every year for equipment to support our EOC because we are in a nuclear town. This is their ask. The Latitude 5590 computer and 3 bookcases and a conference table to round out their EOC.
What's a Latitude? You said it's a computer. Is
It's
it
a
a
compu-
desktop, a laptop? What is it?
I believe it's a laptop. It's for the road, right?
Yeah.
Let's hope it's a laptop.
Yeah, it's a laptop. They almost all are nowadays. It's tough not to.
Just seems like a lot of money for a laptop.
No impact on the town, all nuclear regulatory money?
All the nuclear regulatory money, they have to meet the standards and bidding and all that stuff as required by this program. But when we get gift money, grant money, anything like that, as you know, we go through the appropriation process. So we ask for a motion for the $4,718.
And does this come from a limited fund, that if we take this $4,700, it decreases some max amount for the year?
Nothing is assigned to us. We have to prove its value, its worth, and our need. And it has to be appropriate for what happens if, and what would we do, and what we don't have.
But my
And-
point was supporting the thesis
Yeah.
that we want to get competitive quotes for everything. This is something that doesn't impact the town one way or the other.
Doesn't impact the town, and
It's
and we're
just
not.
us approving, removing, or taking money from the Nuclear
Yes.
Regulatory Committee. Any
Correct.
other questions? Questions?
No.
Questions? Hearing none. I would like to know if somebody would like to make a motion.
I'll move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $4,718 to budget account 01-70-225-224-006 NSEP equipment, and revenue account 01-04-400-401 NSEP grants to cover the cost of purchasing computer equipment and office furniture for the EOC.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comment on the motion before us?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved, 500. Thank you for that. Under new business B, contingency transfer, $12,600, building maintenance custodians.
Mr. Burgaz here, he's put in a long day, and he's gonna, he's stuck around for you folks, and to let you know what's going on with the maintenance department and our shortage, and our trying to stay as efficient as possible with minimal people. However, sometimes people go out and sometimes people retire, and we're in that crunch time right now.
So I have to apologize, we've been trying to take this new business and move it towards the top of the schedule so you guys can get in and out sooner, and we missed it.
Sorry. Good evening. So I did hear in the discussion before, and one of the items that Anna Johnson was talking about is retirements. They're putting aside monies. Well, here we go. This is an employee who, you know, you don't always ask people when you do the budget process, okay, who's retiring next year? But we do have, on the building maintenance side, we have 3 custodians. We have a building supervisor. And they keep very, very busy, and we've been pouring back that we had a 32-hour position, dropped to 20, no benefits. Now, last year we cut that. This person is now telling me they're going to retire January 4th. I'm still waiting for the actual letter, but they have a medical issue that they're also going to be out for 10 weeks in the meantime, and that 10 weeks could be longer. So we're trying to be planning ahead and being proactive, and we do have a temporary, a fill-in person that supplements them, and that person was interested in stepping up. So we're trying to get the funding in place to move that in. The position of the person who's going out is a daytime person at the community center, and that's a little more than custodian. They're always moving stuff. If you've ever been in that building, all the events that go in the big room, and everyone's asking for that person. So they're custodian / do it all, move stuff around, ask for this, move tables, So we're asking for money to supplement this so it doesn't affect services. Otherwise, we're gonna be scrambling, and no one's gonna be able to do all those things to keep that facility. It's a large building. So, everything was in here as far as what we're looking for. If you have any questions, but this is proactive to try to keep the services there, and keep things moving at that facility.
So what budget should have this come out of if you knew ahead of time?
Well, it would have been the custodian line, which actually was asked to be flat. So the custodian line has actually dropped about 15,000 in the last 2 years. So the line was held flat. I remember talking to this board as all my budget's $5 million was flat. Well, here's a situation. We have someone leaving, and you're trying to supplement it. So it would have been in the custodian line, which is what I'm assuming that this would be big and put into, is that 0101 113 100 311 is the custodian line in the building maintenance account.
And we don't
The salary.
maintain for the town an estimate of who's retiring and who's not?
Oh,
Do
we
have-
do, but you can't hold them to it either, right?
No,
So,
no, I just-
in this case, between her operation that's coming up and then a retirement, it's
Without getting into the specifics
Yeah.
of this case, the question I think is holistically, do we as the town have a view of who we think typically is gonna retire?
Mhm.
Do we have a list of everybody over a certain age that is high likely within the next 2-5 years to retire?
yes.
It's always a tough question because it always comes down, can they make it work? And you gotta be very careful as a supervisor and as an employer to be pushing someone, are you going? Because you think about who you're asking.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
person
So
who's
what
getting
do
to
we
a
do
certain
if she
age.
doesn't
I get
retire?
asked all the time. I'm at that age where they wanna know, am I
Yeah,
2 years, 5 years?
they don't wanna hear
Yeah.
as far as the question.
What do we do if she changes her mind and doesn't retire?
Well, we would not be actually filling this person's position until she actually leaves. This money supplements when she's gone, and then I already told this person, we can't fill you as a union full-time position until she actually walks out
That's
the
the
door.
answer I wanted to hear.
You're not gonna be
Because
stuck
then
with an extra.
Then I'd have an extra employee,
Yeah.
And I'd be sad and disappointed.
and that's why I wanna make sure you're not sad and
starters.
disappointed.
That was
We all wanna make Lisa
We've
happy.
already worked that out.
Oh, I think we all
We
feel
all
that
have
way.
that
I just took the bait.
That's okay.
Okay, so we're not hiring this person full-time until we have a,
We're elevating their hourly salary to what they should be getting and working the 40 hours like they normally be. And once the union position leaves, then we'd bring them on to the staff.
so we're just adding 40 hours a week while this person's out on medical leave.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Joe, what does the temporary person do now? I mean, what?
That person just fills in when someone's sick and, you know, we have, well, so with the three, yeah,
So
fills
it's
in
a
vacation.
floating kind of person, I guess?
Yeah, it's a floating person, they just fill in the blanks. And a lot of
Okay.
times it's, you need to have them there, even if it's there for a few hours a day to open the building or close the building or, you know, do a quick run through it. But they don't work, they might work 8 to 12 hours a week. They never work 40.
Okay.
It's
okay.
always that we need you on Thursday, we need you next Friday. It's always very ad hoc, where now we need you here, starting this date. You can be working 40 hours until the day that person walks out, then we will bring you on as a union staff.
But you don't need somebody else to take those float hours?
We are, but that's kind of budget. The floating hours are budget. We do have a budget for floating hours. It's like 5,000. Ann and I go through, it's like 5,000, but we're still gonna need someone to backfill the floating. So even though the person that we're elevating is extremely reliable and is very helpful, if they wanna step up, we want them there. Now I have to backfill the good floater, but I'd rather have the good full-time person.
What do you do if we bump this person up to 40 hours a week and this other full-time person says, I'm not gonna retire, I'm feeling great and I'm totally into it? What do we do with this dude
He
who's already at 40 hours?
the person goes back, there's no commitment of any time. We just go back to the
Okay.
film.
He hasn't been offered a full-time, yeah. Interim temporary.
This gentleman is,
Okay.
yeah, this gentleman would not have an
So
issue.
he knows the possibility
Yeah,
exists
we
that
do
his
that.
hours could be, all right.
There's no commitment
Just wanna
to it.
make sure.
He's
Thanks.
not a union, he's not a
Just wanna
contractor, it's not
understand.
nothing.
Any other questions?
Yes. So here is my insurance question. So we have an individual that's going to be out for 8 to 10 weeks. What type of pay are they going to be getting for 8 to 10 weeks? Is it vacation time?
Sick time,
Is it sick hours?
sick.
Do they have enough
They
to
have-
cover that 8 to 10 weeks?
They have 90 sick days or 180, whatever it is. I mean, they have enough, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
enough time on the books.
That person
for the
has enough,
employee to
yeah.
get full pay the whole time they're out.
Okay. What would happen if they did not have enough time to cover that?
They would, I mean, under FMLA, their job's protected for 12 weeks, and there would be no pay.
There would be no pay.
Correct.
Okay. Because that is not part of our self-insurance. We don't insure people that are going out
We
on
don't
medical
have
leave.
short-term disability, we don't
And-
have long-term disability.
Okay, so, and that was my next question.
Yeah,
Do we have a
we don't do
short-term
that.
disability that would cover these wages while
No.
they were out?
We
do not have that.
I don't wanna say the smarter, the employees that really watch over this kind of stuff are the ones that bank their time, and it becomes their safety net.
Yeah.
We don't offer that long-term or short-term disability, so department heads are wise and staffers, and they'll bank that
Yeah.
for that operation or that unforeseen accident.
And I am not passing judgment. I mean, I would probably
No.
do the same thing.
Right,
You know,
right.
I'm just curious, you know,
It-
is there a way not to pay 2 salaries at once if somebody's out for 10 weeks? And the answer is no, because we have no short-term disability policy.
Correct.
Correct.
So we're just using the money that they've already banked. There's no
Correct.
additional cost.
They're using their personal time.
It's-
We'd be either paying it out on retirement or we'd be paying it.
It's like
Well,